Welcome to the unboxing of the Roland TR8 AIRA Rhythm Performer. It's finally here. I got the scissors ready. It just got it. A retro, modern throwback back to the 808, 909 days machine. And so we're going to be unboxing it and talking a little bit about the features and what comes with it. Also the software implementations. There's a few options you have, and in the next video we're gonna do some beats with it. So this is mostly I'm shopping for you. So AIRA, a new logo, a new line of 3 machines, and here we're doing the drum box, the drum machine. So let's see what's in it. There it is, wrapped in plastic. Feels has a light feeling to it. There's also a manual, and I'm sure there's got to be a power supply there somewhere. Green's a good color. I haven't seen that in a while. Let me put the box away and adjust the light just a little bit so it's not so bright. Alright, so let's have a look at the power supply, because we're going to need that anyways to fire it up. It's got to be in there. And yes, it is. Okay, cool. There's the power supply. We put all this stuff away, and then we can connect it. Talk a little bit more about it. More knobs, less mouse, less trackpad. That's where we're going. And fun. I'm not going to compare it to an 808 or 909, how accurate it is. It needs to sound good in my book. Anything that I buy needs to sound good and needs to, motivate you to do music and have some nice lights on it. Glowing lights. I love lights. I love buttons. Right, yeah, it does feel light, has a light feeling to it. But I think well sized. About twice the size of an iPad, I would say, or laptop, a MacBook Pro in size. That's a good size comparison. Let me get that out. I'm overdubbing the sound because it's so noisy. Metal finish, sort of metalish. Not sure if it is. And yeah, once we connect it, it gets really interesting because like I said, I like the colors. So tons of colors, very bright. It's a little, kind of daylight right now, so it doesn't pop out as much. And so the classic 16-step Roland sequencer. Then you can, of course, select, turn steps on and off, and then each drum in each of the 11 drum sounds has its own slider, which is very cool. So you can immediately, mix it together. Doesn't run on batteries, so it needs its own power supply, actually. Not sure. Does it run on batteries? No, it does not run on batteries. Just a thought here, no pressure. The classic 16-step Roland sequencer. And then each drum in each of the 11 drum sounds has its own slider, which is very cool. So you can immediately, mix it together. The volume button here on the top. Then we have this brakes button. Here's the tempo button. And let's any unit that you want to hold and grab and it feels nice, it's always good. Let's look at the back side. Look at the connectors. I think Roland did a good job. First of all, no RCA connectors. Finally, some proper 6.3 millimeter connectors. Great. I'm holding it into the camera, as I should. Hopefully I'm going to move that back into the camera here in a second. So here it is. Just a closer look. It's well lit. It's spaced. It could be spaced a little bit wider for me. The buttons, the dials on the individual instruments, kick drum, snare drum, and so forth. Here's the side view. It really invokes classic drum machine. That's what it says. But it's all digital, Roland tried to emulate each parts of the circuitry of the 808 and the 909 with all its variations. Just giving you a little bit of a look here. So it comes with a thin manual, a fold-out manual, and a power supply. And the power supply is 110 to 240 volts input, and translates that to 5.7 volts and 2.0 amperes. And it's called, well, it says TR8 on it. So not much of a documentation. And then I went online to look what's going on there, and I couldn't find much info. So if you go to Roland, there is software you can download for the Mac or PC. 7, Vista, Windows 8, and so forth. 8.1, and Snow Leopard, Mountain Lion, Mavericks. It's a quick download here. I'm on the Mac here. Comes with an uninstaller, which I appreciate. And then you install the driver. After I did that already. So after you install the driver, actually the TR8 shows up as an audio interface, which is pretty cool. So you can run your whole Mac, whatever, your YouTube videos through the output of the Roland. In my case, I just, for testing purposes, connected it to my speakers directly. And you can also use it as an input because it has input to a stereo input. So it is an audio interface, USB 2.0. That's pretty cool. And the reason why it's pretty cool is because we can use it in Ableton Live. And there's not much documentation on how to work this, but it's not that hard. What you do is you, once it's installed and restarted, you select it as an audio interface, and then you can you can configure the inputs and the outputs. And the sum of it can be recorded, but also the individual drums. So you can, go into Ableton Live or any other DAW and just say, you know what, we're picking up the kick drum, we're picking up the snare drum, we're picking up the hi-hat pattern. So what I'm doing here, I was testing this in 9.1, and I was recording 1 and 2, which is stereo output after the volume button. Digging a little bit deeper, I tried to find some information on how to set this up and what track is what. And on the website, on the Roland website, not much. There's a tiny owner's manual, which is the one that's included. That's all you get. You get one page. More extensive search on the owner's manuals database. Roland didn't reveal anything. I googled it as well, so there's not much out there. But I'm fine with that. It just means spend more time with it and work intuitively. I hope Roland meant it that way. I don't think a large company like that would omit that by fault. Who knows, whatever. And then there's the installation and uninstallation instructions for the driver. It's a little bit lengthier. Goes into Windows versus Mac and so forth. So it still doesn't tell you what the individual outputs are, which is okay. So I looked through that. So don't expect to find too much, but that's where my video comes in, hopefully. So what you have to do here, for example, in Ableton, some other DAWs, you don't even have to do an input configuration. You just enable all the mono tracks, because each of the individual drums shows up as a mono track. That's great. So now we can record from that. And unfortunately, when I was recording that, Ableton wasn't turned on, so you can't hear it. But as you see, I'm going through, turning on and off. I'm turning the individual drums on and off, and you see them show up in the field here as signals are coming through. So integrating, we don't have to run cables from the TR8 to an audio interface. We can directly pick up the sounds. We don't need to reconvert a digital signal back to the DAW. It's already created once, so we can just digitally transfer it through USB to the DAW. And also MIDI works, so we can MIDI sync it to any DAW as a master or as a slave, and then, you know, make our own patterns from there. Perhaps just sample the drums, but even, you know, if you, the nice thing about this is you'd create your own patterns. That would be the idea, and then, you know, have this great workflow and import it. So that said, that was just a quick unboxing. What I'm gonna do right after this, I'm gonna play around with the sequencer, check out the 808 sounds, the 909 sounds, the claps, the hi-hats, the closed hats, and the swing feature. That's something that I want to do, and we'll do something, you know, 90 BPM, and then we'll do something all the way up to 135 BPM and see how it feels. I think I talked enough for 5 years. Next video, no talking, just playing with the buttons. All right, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and check out the Roland TR8. Thanks. Bye.